This segment was made possible by the Communications Office of the Diocese of Arlington, which is funded in part by the Bishop's Lenten Appeal. We thank all who support this critical appeal and the ministries it funds. You're listening to Searching for More, a podcast of the Diocese of Arlington. On this episode, in the movie Unplanned, actress Ashley Bratcher plays the role of Abby Johnson, a Planned Parenthood facility director. But when she assisted with an ultrasound-guided abortion, Johnson turns into a staunch pro-life advocate. Coming up, why the actress says this movie has the power to change the course of the pro-life movement and abortion in the nation.
When you gain that knowledge and you have that revelation, it's really hard to turn back and walk away from that.
This episode's host is Billy Atwell, Chief Communications Officer for the Diocese.
Ashley, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
So you've been on a lot of media lately. You were on Fox and Friends recently. You've been on EWTN. You've spoken at huge venues, and now you're on Searching for More for the Diocese of Arlington. You've made it. How does it feel?
It's crazy. It's still a whirlwind. I'm honored that anybody even wants to speak to me. So every single time I get the opportunity, I'm very happy to have it.
Well, I'm so grateful for your time. You've starred in a lot of several faith-based films. You've been in War Room, 90 Minutes in Heaven, Badge of Faith. Do you find that these roles kind of find you, or are you purposely kind of seeking out these roles?
No, these are absolutely all divine appointments. I gave my career to the Lord in 2012, and I said, Lord, no matter where you take me, I'm willing to go. And it's not just in faith-based films, but it happens to be the primary source of my work.
Yeah.
But in every single project, there has been some crazy God story attached to it, or I've been contacted in a weird way, or something happened where they had cast someone, and then all of a sudden they got a feeling that they weren't supposed to cast them, and then they reached out to me. It's just really crazy God stories, and I just think God is honoring my commitment to pursue His will.
That's wonderful. Now, you said in 2012. What happened in 2012? What was the turning point?
Well, when I graduated college, I had gone a traditional route and wanted to get a degree because I didn't think that being an actor was a viable career path. But in 2008, I ended up going to the state fair in North Carolina. Another crazy, fun story.
That's my home state.
At the state fair. Say what?
That was my home state. I know that fair very well.
Oh, yeah. That fair is real. I mean, you couldn't miss the state fair if you lived in North Carolina. So I went to the fair, and there was this booth set up, and it said, do you want to be an actor, across this big banner? And I thought, yeah, why not? I had done a little theater in high school, and I thought, why not? I auditioned for this little local commercial, and I booked it. And long story short, I had this agency take me up to New York. I got a ton of offers for managers. I signed with one there. Moved up to New York directly after college. Was very young and naive, not quite ready to be on my own there. And I came back to North Carolina with my tail between my legs, kind of was rebelling and not walking with the Lord. Ended up having my own unplanned pregnancy with my high school sweetheart, and we were committed to having our child and working it out. So I stepped away from the industry for a little while, and in 2012 was when I said, I don't want to have regrets, so let me give this another go. And my husband was hesitantly supportive, but God was good, and he took over.
Wow, that's really powerful, especially just that personal desire for faith that kind of led you into this. I imagine that would make it incredibly fulfilling. In this movie Unplanned, you play Abby Johnson, who's one of the most consequential figures in the pro-life movement since Roe v. Wade happened. I mean, her story has brought so many people to the pro-life movement and even converted a lot of people as well. How did you find out about this role, and how did it kind of come to you that you got to play this consequential figure?
Another crazy God story. I had no idea the casting was happening. It was very confidential. I had a random Instagram follower reach out to me that I had no idea who she was. We had just been kind of following each other on Instagram, and I had no idea that she had been committed to praying for me for a year. She felt called to pray for people in the film industry. She was not a producer, director, anything of the sort. And she reached out to me and said, Ashley, I'm trying to help this person who's looking for people to play this role. And I feel like the Lord has told me that you're meant to play it. You should audition. Please audition. And I thought, oh, that was kind of crazy. Thanks a lot. You're so sweet. And then I blew it off. And so she was really persistent, though, and she followed up with me a couple of weeks later, and she said, Ashley, did you audition for the film? And I said, no, I don't really know much about it. I thought it was going to be this little low-budget, poor-quality Christian film, and she just said, please, please, please audition. So when I finally did and I got the script, it was pretty good, and I was curious who Abby was because I'd found out she was a real person, and I looked her up. And when I heard her testimony, that was what really rocked my world. And I thought, wow, I had no idea, and I bet America needs to hear this story. I really, really believe that. And from that point on, I just kept praying and praying and praying. And I felt in my spirit that I was also convinced that I was meant to play the role. And it was weeks later that I heard from production finally, and they were like, hey, the role's yours. Can you get on plane in 5 hours? It was insane. But yeah, that's how it happened.
Wow. Did you get to talk to Abby Johnson much before you started actually doing the role?
Not really. I mean, not before I had accepted the role, definitely. But as soon as I got the role, I said, maybe I should have her phone number since I'm playing her in the movie. I'd like to maybe talk to her.
As a courtesy, if
And
nothing else.
that was one of the first things I did was have a conversation with her. And we hit it off from the very beginning. She was really easy to talk to. I felt like I'd known her forever. And throughout the process, I was able to text her, call her any time of day or night, and she was responsive. She finally did come out to set, and we were able to have a personal interaction. And this has been a really wonderful experience getting to know her.
You know, this next question, it may even sound strange, but it's based. I got to interview James Faulkner, who played Paul in the movie Paul the Apostle of Christ, and he said that as he was going through the role, he didn't feel that he was playing Paul, that Paul was playing him. And just given what you were talking about how you've kind of let God guide you in your career and how these roles kind of providentially come to you, did you feel almost at a point that you were kind of stepping out of yourself and letting Abby's story just kind of take over?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I didn't have much time to prepare. I had to do a ton of research. I had over 100 pages of dialogue to learn, and it was a 24/7 process. So every day when we started filming, I just prayed over every scene before we shot. I prayed, Holy Spirit, come. Lord, please take this scene where you want it to go. I have done my preparation, and I just hand it all over to you. And he just kept showing up and taking over, and you could feel the presence of God on that set. It was the closest I've ever felt to God in my life. Everything was prayerfully done. So I just think that it's a masterful work that God has really divinely orchestrated and anointed.
It certainly seems like God is blessing these films that are coming, these Christian-based films that have been coming out, because one, the quality is getting immensely better. Like you said, like a low-budget, Christian film that wasn't going to have real high quality. That was your concern. The films that have been coming out have been so high quality, and it's done such tremendous good. It's also drawn top talent like yourself, and like I was mentioned, with the movie Paul, James Faulkner. It's funny. He also said that he didn't have much time to prepare. It was a very, very fast turnaround. I almost wonder if that's the common thread. God calls you, you have no time to prepare, and you just have to trust going into it that you're going to do what He wants.
What's funny is that I had been praying to be able to step off the boat, and have faith to be able to trust Jesus and step off the boat and know that He was going to place every single step in front of me. That was kind of my prayer, that it was to give me faith to just go, to say, here I am, Lord, send me, and to trust Him every step of the way. And when we do that and we are at the end of ourselves, that's when God really gets the glory, because He gets to tell the story. He gets all the credit. So every single part of this movie, my performance, I give it to God. It's all Him.
Trusting God is a very hard concept for anybody to really grasp. It's very, very hard to do. It's easy to talk about it. When you're actually faced with adversity, it's a real challenge. For women who are pregnant and considering abortion, or women who are pro-choice, do you think this movie has the ability to convert them and kind of heal their heart, whatever it is that's holding them back from the truth of what God calls us to? Do you think it would give them that sense of trust in God that this will work out, that this will come together, and I need to follow and trust Him?
Absolutely. Abby's testimony is so incredibly beautiful and powerful, and it is just filled with grace and redemption. She facilitated 22,000 abortions and had 2 of her own. That's quite a burden to carry. And to know that she found peace and comfort by laying it down at the foot of the cross is so powerful. I think it's going to compel a lot of people to explore that, even non-believers, because there's something about that. There's something about that has to make people curious. Even pro-choicers to be able to see this film is important, because Addie was pro-choice, and she wasn't just pro-choice. She was very outspokenly pro-choice in the fight.
Yeah, she was a director.
The ladder to success at Planned Parenthood, and then she made a complete 180. That's a really interesting story to watch unfold, and people have to wonder why. What did she see that changed her mind?
Yeah, that's actually going to be the kind of basis of my next question. So she had this conversion when she actually saw what was going on, and she had this conversion. I love the in the previews. I'm not giving anything away, but in the previews, there's this scene where they come and said, Abby Johnson's here, and they're wearing 40 Days for Life shirts, and the guy kind of pauses and he goes, here? It's like, you can't believe that someone's saying. I think a real important part of the pro-life movement has been the civility of the movement, that the people that work at clinics or the women that go and get an abortion, they cannot become a symbol of the evil that is abortion. We have to treat them as people who are on a path. Now, they might be on the wrong path, but they're on a path, and can we guide them to this path of truth? When you look at Abby's story and how everything changed for her in that instance, have you had an Abby Johnson moment like that in your life, where maybe it's on this issue or some other, where in a singular instant you realized, oh, I can never go back to that way of thinking or to that action, whatever it is?
Oh yeah, I mean, just like Abby, when you gain that knowledge and you have that revelation, it's really hard to turn back and walk away from that. Abby's testimony is what did that for me. I was completely blind to what was going on in an abortion procedure. I was middle of the road. I thought, well, I'd never have an abortion, but I would respect any woman who decided otherwise. And I considered myself pro-life, but that's not really pro-life. That's pro-choice. It really just rocked my world to say, whoa, this is insane. I had no idea. Planned Parenthood does a really great job at campaigning and perpetuating the lie that this isn't a life. It's a fetal matter. It's just a clump of cells. And in reality, that's just not the case. Science backs the pro-life movement and telling us that life begins at the moment of conception. There's an individual with its own unique DNA that already has its predetermined eye color, hair color, elements of its personality. It's this tiny little life that we're not protecting.
Yeah, it's almost like that position is the modern day science deniers. It's denying the obvious science of the day. Now, one thing that I was reading, and because I try not to ask too many questions you've already been asked, because I know you do a lot of interviews, but this one I'm gonna replicate because it's fascinating. I read that your mother had actually considered abortion when she was pregnant with you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I had no idea until doing this movie that was the case. I knew that she had had an abortion when she was in high school because we'd had a conversation about it. It was very nonchalant. She just shared it with me, and I think it was more of a cautionary tale to just say, be careful with what you do. But we never had a discussion further than that. We didn't really talk about how it affected her. So when I got the role and I started explaining it to her, I was very cautious because I didn't want her to think I judged her in any way and that I loved her any less, because that just wasn't the case. And as I did, she just wept on the phone. Her spirit was crushed, and she said, Ashley, I need to tell you something that I never told you before. She started sharing with me that when she was 19, she was in the clinic for the second time. She had her name called back, was on the table being examined by a very pregnant nurse. She'll never forget it. She got very sick to her stomach, decided that she couldn't go through with it, got up, walked out, and that she chose to have me. And having her share that with me was just this incredibly overwhelming and emotional experience, because here I was telling Abby Johnson's story, one of what I consider to be the greatest pro-life stories of our time, never having known that I had my own story, that it was evidence to me that God had really crafted my story from conception and brought it full circle to say, I chose you to tell this. I put you here, Ashley. I chose you. And it gave me confidence moving forward to just be empowered by the Lord to know that He entrusted me to tell this story.
That is we've talked about God's providence. I mean, what a tremendous witness of God's providential hand, that she was literally in an abortion clinic, decided not to, and then here you are telling the story through film of one of the greatest pro-life stories of all time. That's really incredible. What do you see as next for you in terms of acting and so on? Like what kind of roles would you envision wanting to do next?
Oh my gosh, I have so many in mind. I did just get an offer that I am planning to accept for a period piece set in colonial times. I'm pretty excited about that.
That's exciting.
It deals with the providence of God and one of our president's rise to presidency. Can't go into all the details yet because the deal's not sealed, but I'm really hoping it's going to go through. I'm excited about it. There's another film in the works. I'm just excited about the doors that God's opening. I have offers on the table. I know that God has called me to this industry, and I think that He's going to be faithful to that, because I've set out to say, God, whatever you want to do this year, if it means dedicating a year to Unplanned and fighting for the pro-life movement, I'm willing to do that, no matter what it is. And I think that God is just sprinkling in His blessings throughout the year, because I'm already engaged in speaking events throughout the year to share my testimony, to talk with pregnancy centers to help support them. And the roles are coming in. I'm excited about everything. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So if the moment presents itself, I'm all over it.
All right, folks. Well, you heard it here first. So, all right, for those listening, Unplanned, it comes out on March 29th. Go to unplannedfilm.com to learn more. There's even a devotional guide. That's a great resource there that takes you through a lot of the kind of the deep questions that you and your family, maybe even your children, will have come up because of this movie. Ashley, where can people find you?
I am all over social media. I am on Instagram and Twitter. It is @_Ashley Bratcher. And on Facebook, you can just search Ashley Bratcher, and I should pop up pretty easily. You can also follow the Unplanned Facebook page. It's Unplanned Movie on Facebook, and it's @Unplanned Movie on other social media.
Wonderful. Ashley, thank you so much for your time. I know you're so busy. I'm grateful that you would give us this opportunity to hear more of your story.
Of course. I'm so happy to share. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Searching for More. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a review on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. Also, make sure you follow the Diocese and the Arlington Catholic Herald on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And subscribe to our YouTube channels for regular videos that will inspire, educate, and inform you about the Catholic faith and our diocesan community.